Today we're going to be doing a market man's palayok adobo, which is my view of how adobo was made several hundred years ago. When Magellan came to the Philippines in 1521, Pigafetta wrote a chronicle of what they ate, and one of the dishes was a sort of an oily pork dish, which I suspect may have been an adobo. And it's one of the most important dishes in terms of Philippine culinary history, and it's nice to take it back to the really stripped down version that we're going to do and realize from there it has evolved into hundreds of versions that everyone calls their favorite adobo. Adobo essentially is not a dish, it's a method. And the key to the method of adobo is vinegar and probably salt and some slow cooking. It's not made the same way all across the Philippines. In fact, it varies from town to town. And perhaps the biggest difference in the adobos that many people are used to today and the adobos of a few centuries ago is the arrival of soy sauce. 80% of the population will be more likely to have an adobo that has soy sauce in it. And their view of an adobo is usually a saucy dish that would be nice on steamed rice. Whereas a really old-fashioned adobo, or what people call an adobong puti, is kind of drier, a little saltier, and has less sauce but more oil. So to make the adobo is actually incredibly simple. And the thing to remember when a dish is simple is that it's the most difficult to get right. So start with a palayok that has been seasoned, meaning it's been used before, and take half a cup of lard, or a cup, and smear that into the pot. The lard I'm using is called leaf lard. It's like the best lard you can make. It's made from the fat around the stomach of pigs. And it's not so easy to get anymore, but we do have it at Zubuchon, and there's lots of other places as well. If you're doing this at home and you're really worried about your adobo sticking to the bottom of the pot, a real cheat is to take some banana leaf and put that at the bottom of your pot, and that'll prevent the meat from sticking. And that's called a dekin that goes underneath just to steady it. 3 kilos of pork belly that have been cut into sort of 1.5-inch cubes. The more striations of fat and meat, the better. Half of the peeled garlic goes in. So I use about 3 whole bulbs of garlic. 1/3 cup of sea salt, and that's not iodized sea salt. That's actually like rock salt that you want that doesn't have iodine in it. About 2 tablespoons of peppercorns in total, maybe 10, 15 bay leaves. Another layer of the pork. So this is like a recipe for kitchen newbies. Put more salt. So if you don't really cook most of the time, you can impress your friends because this is a really, really good recipe. And all you have to do is get your hand dirty for a couple of minutes. More garlic. The critical ingredient is 1.5 cups of coconut sap vinegar, about 1 cup of water, and you can add a little bit more later on. With everything in there nice and snug, cover your pot and put it onto the fire that I estimate at the moment is actually very, very hot. So it's probably at like 600-700 degrees. Now, I said cover, but actually you want to uncover for the first 15-20 minutes for the vinegar to burn off. You want the fumes to sort of come out of the dish. And if you don't, it sort of makes it a little sour. In the meantime, as soon as it starts to boil, let it go for about 10-15 minutes and then you can cover it. One of the reasons adobo was the perfect dish for farmers and people out in the province is You basically take the rice in banana leaf and then you put adobo and you wrap it up, and they can go out to the field and it won't spoil for, the whole day. What we have here is the 1 hour cooking, or 1 hour and 15-minute cooking. You don't really have to stir it, but I just want to check to make sure it's not sticking to the bottom, and I can tell they're already all kind of loose pieces, which is good. Here's the 3-hour version. We cooked this yesterday and kept it overnight, and this is the perfect color. It should be soft and unctuous and a little bit browned on the edges. Some people like to brown it and get it a little bit crisp on the edges. So the perfect way to do that is really to just get a big cast iron pan. Just put some of that lard and then get some of the adobo and fry away just to crisp it up. So this is the adobo that we made earlier. It's cooled down a little bit. It's incredibly soft, also a little bit chewy, which is nice. It's salty, but it's not overwhelmingly salty. And a hint of sourness from the vinegar. And it's really, as I would imagine an adobo made hundreds and hundreds of years ago, before the influence of other ingredients and other cooking styles. But really the essence is a slow-cooked pork that's soft and meltingly tender, or if you fry it, crisp on the edges and tender inside. And I think pork is definitely the heart of adobo. I've always been asked about sort of modernist cuisine and chefs that are taking it really to the edge of the envelope, and I love that. I really honestly do. But I think chefs really need to go back as far as possible to the roots of a dish, because when you understand the soul of a dish, then you can play with it with abandon, and you can play with it in a way that seems to be more honest. Take the time, get a palayok, try it the way we did it. And I think if you don't see that it's almost perfection to begin with, then it's hard to kind of justify the ways that you are going to adjust it later on. So whether it's kinilaw or adobo or any other dish, if you understand the soul of the dish, and if you understand the simplicity of the ingredients and the quality of the ingredients, then I think that takes you much further along. And I think there's also a school of thought now around the world. It isn't the most fancy, it's actually the one with the most sort of soul and heart.